Welcome to Canada's podcast.
Hello, I'm Mario Tanaguzzi, and this is Edmonton's podcast on Canada's Podcast Network. Joining me today is Mike Anderson, president of Trixstar. Thanks for joining us today, Mike.
Oh, thanks for having me, Mario.
Let's start. I guess, by talking a bit about Trixstar and what it is that you guys do.
Yeah, so we produce live events and concerts and festivals, so we're in the business of bringing people together and bringing joy into their lives through music, through comedy, through speakers. So, we're the fun guys.
Tell me how it all got started.
It started 25 years ago. I was going to college at the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. It's just a 18-year-old student minding his own business, and then got roped into being a class rep for the Business Administration Society. Then all of a sudden I started planning their parties, and next thing I know, I was the VP of campus life for the whole school, doing all their events. So,
and how long ago was that? When did you start this?
That was 1996. Doing it at school, and then once I graduated, they hired me full time at the school to be their entertainment and marketing manager. So I did that for a number of years, and then in 2005, I started my company, Trixstar Productions. There was a big need in the market to bring high caliber events to the market, and having qualified people to bring that to them and do it in a safe way and entertaining way at the same time.
Tell me give me some examples of what you've put on.
Some of the events we've put on in the past. I started my journey producing a college party called Ookfest. So our mascot was the Ook Owl. So we created a little festival. So it started off with 1,500 people. We paid Nickelback a couple $100. Had orange snow fence. Sold beer out of the back of a truck, and then it eventually grew to 3 stages, 20 bands, 8,000 students attending. So it became one of the biggest campus parties in all of Canada. And then as my journey continued, we've been a part of the Big Valley Jamboree. We've been a part of Grey Cup Festival. We've been part of Klondike Days, Soundtrack Music Festival, to tourism activations down in Drumheller, working with the Badlands Amphitheater there, bringing entertainment to some of their slower times. So, it's we've done it all from big concerts to, helping Red Bull, Crashed Ice do their activation. So
what's the biggest concert you think you've done?
The Big Valley Jamboree by far is the biggest. You're talking about 100,000 people over a weekend, and some of the biggest names in country music. So, that was great. But, setting an event up like that is setting up an infrastructure for an entire city in a field. So it had its own fire department, its own police department, its own sanitation services. So it had to operate as its own city entity, because if something were to happen in the city of Camrose during the event, it had to be self-sufficient. So, people ask us, why does it take you all year to plan an event like that? Because, it's a massive undertaking to house 25,000 people a day in a safe manner. So,
okay. Is there something you haven't done that you want to do?
Well, the thing I always wanted to do was a big, large outdoor comedy festival. And, we launched that last year. So I don't know if there's much left that we can do. So.
Okay. And where's that?
So it started off in Edmonton as called the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival. So it started off as, we did a lot of country. We did a lot of rock and roll music. We've done a lot of 90s throwback, but there was nothing to celebrate the comedian as a big rock star on a big stage outdoors. So we created this brand, and, we were going to launch it before the pandemic hit, but the pandemic gave us the opportunity to fine tune the whole experience. And we launched it last year in Edmonton, and now it's we're about to launch it in 2 weeks, and it's going to come to Edmonton and Calgary for 2022. And then we're looking to expand across the country after that. So.
Okay. Super then. When you look at this industry, obviously, maybe talk a little bit, Mike, about the pandemic and the impact it's had. You basically had to shut down for a while, I presume.
Yeah. The initial shutdown was for 18 months. That was really tough to, not just financially, but the purpose. We lost our purpose for a while, but that didn't stop us. A lot of companies in our industry laid off everybody and went silent. And what we did was we kept everybody employed, and we started planning events on what does an event look like coming out of the pandemic? How are people going to feel safe attending an event? We bet on that, and we won that bet. And, we were one of the first organizations in all of Canada to come out of the pandemic and host a major festival last summer. So we put together an event called Together Again, and also the Great Outdoors Comedy Festival, which ended up being at the Old Northlands racetrack. We tried to find the biggest footprint we could to, accommodate social distancing. So when we reinvented the whole event experience, we noticed there's a couple things that we needed to figure out. How are we going to keep people apart from each other? And what are some of the biggest touch points? And some of the biggest touch points were the merchandise tent, and then also the bar lineup. So as we worked through the whole process, we figured out the best way to keep everybody separated is if we give people a place to sit and be 6 feet apart from each other. So we went to Costco. They were a great partner, and we bought every table in Costco coast to coast. We bought 1,400 tables. So we placed these tables in the field. They're 6 feet apart from each other, and they all had a barcode on them. And these barcodes were geo-tagged. So when people took their cell phone, they scanned it. They're able to put their drink order in, their merchandise order, put their credit card information in, and 4 minutes later, their order arrived at their table. So people didn't have to wait in line for 30 minutes for a drink. They didn't have to wait in line for 45 minutes for their band t-shirt. It all just came to them, and it changed the experience where people want that VIP experience. So that was their biggest feedback was, well, once COVID's over, this can't go away. We don't want to see a show any other way. So we were making plans to sell these tables after last summer's events. And so what we did was we listened to what the people wanted, and we're doing a bit of a hybrid of that this coming year. And we're making the announcement tomorrow about our Together Again concert series. Is, people want that VIP experience, but they also want the option to maybe go and, stand in front of the stage the way they used to. So, hopefully that the worst of COVID's over and we can start finding some normalcy this summer, that, you can start choosing your own adventure in a sense. Do you want the VIP experience at your table with your cohorts, or do you want to, go rock out to your favorite band at the front of the stage? So
do you think people are just like absolutely craving experiences like that now, especially after going through what they've gone through for the last 2 years?
Yeah, I think so. Like when we launched last summer, like people we did more business in 1 week than we did in most years, so that just told us there was just this craving for entertainment. And with us being locked down again for the last 6 months, I think people take for granted of, the ability to go and hang out with their friends, meet up, watch their favorite band or their favorite comedian, and, bring back that joy to their life that's been missing. I think a lot of people have gone through some really tough times these last 2 years, and, we want to be able to be the group that helps make that connection again, and bring happiness and be part of bringing positivity to people's mental health and and their well-being, because I think we all need some good news and some joy brought back into our lives.
Most definitely. So Mike, when you were going to NAIT, what did you think you were going to become?
Oh no! Originally, I wanted to take radio and television, but they told me my marks sucked. So I took business, because my mom said I needed to take something or she was going to kick me out of the house. So I went to college blind, just taking studies, and a career found me accidentally. I stumbled across it, and I'm really thankful for that. So I've been doing what I love to do since I've been 19 years old. So it's I've been really lucky, but there's been some sacrifices. I was never able to go do that Europe trip or travel the world or go backpacking. So, I'm hoping I could do that in my later years.
All right. So what do you like about being an entrepreneur?
Oh, every day is different. There's a lot of challenges, and especially these last 2 years, we lost, 98% of our business. So, I think the positive is that we survived it, and looking back on how we survived it and how we did it as a team, it's really remarkable. And to see all of our other friends who are entrepreneurs who went through similar situations, it's like, it's quite remarkable that, we were able to get through this, and, being told, your business isn't viable, we need you to shut down. And so that was tough, but that was rewarding. And I think why I got into business and why I continue to do what I do is, we bring happiness to people, and it's there's no better feeling than being able to put a smile on someone's face. So,
and on the flip side of things, what don't you like about being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, these last 2 years, it's that double-edged sword. It's you're at the mercy of the market, what's going on in the world, people's attitudes, how are they feeling? If people are afraid and scared, that translates into ticket sales. If people aren't willing to go out, but if you could catch the momentum where people are feeling good, they're encouraged, they've got steady income. We're a great catalyst to that as well.
When you look at back at the last 2 years, what do you think have been some of the most important lessons from a business standpoint you've learned through this challenging time?
The biggest one, patience. I'm not a very patient person, and so we the art of patience was very important, because we couldn't start announcing things about the summer or even what's coming out this summer until people were ready to hear it. And hearing some good news from government officials and from the chief medical officers of the different provinces. If the temperature wasn't right and people weren't feeling like there was a light at the end of the tunnel, we would have just put things on sale and they wouldn't have sold. So being patient, and we were ready to go with our events as soon as September 2020. So we started planning April 2020, and we were ready to go September 2020. And we didn't launch until June 2021. So that was a lot of patience to just hold on tight and, don't get distracted, and make sure that, we do things right. Because, if the people don't feel safe and they don't feel the confidence in your product, they're not going to buy it. And that's how a lot of companies,
So exactly. So as a business owner and entrepreneur, over the years, you looked at anybody in particular as examples to follow, or books they've read, or where have you sought for information and inspiration about being an entrepreneur?
Oh, probably my favorite book, and it's the operating system of my business, is Traction by Gino Wickman. It's just fantastic. The tools they have in one book, and with some of the videos that come with it, we were able to put some structure in our business and make everything flow and make sense and come back to our core values and our processes. So it's a step-by-step, almost toolkit on how to run a business. And then I think the other great resource I was able to find was the Entrepreneurs Organization, EO. I've been a part of EO for 10 years now. And, I started off in their accelerator program, and then graduated into their regular program, and being in forum with other like-minded business owners, and then taking up their mentorship program for the last 5 years has been amazing. There's some great business people in this country, and being able to tap into that and that knowledge, and listening to not just the success stories, but also listening and doing the takeaways when things went wrong. And I think that gave me the tools to, to get over the last 2 years. Was like, okay, you listen to some of the stories of when oil crashed, and taking those lessons and how they relate to what's going on in my industry right now. Where priceless. Listening to
exactly. So you obviously have a pretty fun job.
Yeah.
Looking from the outside, looking at a fun job. So do you manage, or are you able to attend every event that you put on?
Before the pandemic, I didn't. I went to as much as I could, but I kind of took for granted some of the great things we were doing. And since we've launched out of the pandemic, I've been to every single event. I've been there from start to finish, 18, 20 hours a day sometimes, and just enjoying every moment. And then also going to other people's events and just supporting them, and, making sure, that the industry rallies around each other and supports each other as we come out of this. So, I'm really blessed to, and I will never take for granted, sometimes there might be 5 events in a week, and, I'd rather go to an event than sit in my basement.
Yeah, exactly. So, of the events of your own that you've attended, do you have a favorite?
Of my own?
Yeah.
The Great Outdoors Comedy Festival is my favorite, and what we're about to launch is, it's going to blow people away. And I believe it's going to be the second biggest comedy property in the country. So outside of Just for Laughs. So I'm really excited for it. I'm a big comedian enthusiast. I've been booking comedians for 25 years, just in a pub in college, to casinos, to, now big festival stages. So, the art form of being able to string words together with facial expressions and timing is quite an art to get a reaction of joy and laughter from people. So I really respect that art form. And,
it's funny you mentioned Just for Laughs, because I'm on the daily habit of watching it on Facebook, and it's a few episodes here and there, and it gives me a chuckle. Man, I think that's the thing, right? So we're so craving laughter these days, but after what we've been through, so that'd be great. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do outside of your business? What other interests do you have?
Oh, well, I stumbled into a hobby about 4 or 5 years ago. I never ran before in my life. I started going to Orange Theory, and then I made a declaration that it was in the middle of March that in August, I'm going to run a full marathon. So I never ran more than 2 kilometers in my life. And, I spent 18 weeks training for a full marathon, and I ran 42 kilometers. And,
where was that?
It was in Edmonton, the Edmonton Marathon. And, that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and most rewarding outside of, my company and being a parent. So, it's amazing what the human body can do when you put your mind to it. And, I haven't ran a full marathon since, but I love doing half marathons. Those are really, that's a new passion of mine, is, going to travel to different cities and running and exploring, what those cities have to offer. And I've got one coming up in Nashville. So get to mix a little business and pleasure with each other. So I've got an office in Nashville, as well as the Nashville Rock and Roll Marathon takes place in April. So looking forward to that. Yeah.
Oh, super. Yeah, I used to as well run marathons a long time ago, though, and don't do any running anymore. But there was a period of my life there that I did Calgary, Ottawa, Seattle, and Honolulu, and but I found, out by yourself, outdoors and running. Do you find you get any inspiration doing that? Because I found that I always had a million thoughts and ideas pop into my head.
Yeah, it's you become friends with yourself because you're out there for hours and hours training and running these marathons. Is like you have no one but yourself to be with, and those ideas and that energy flows. And one of my favorite parts of it, outside of the ideas that pop into your head, is just exploring the beauty and the nature and connecting with these areas. Like I fell in love with my city that I grew up in, that I had no idea parts of these cities existed in the River Valley and these trails. It's quite remarkable what running can connect you with. So I'm cherishing these last couple of years.
Okay, super. Then any other interests?
My kids keep me pretty active. So keeping up with 3 girls is rewarding and challenging at times. But I love going to Orange Theory. I love traveling. So getting back and exploring the world is going to be important. So
how important do you think that is for people that own businesses to have that kind of balance and have other interests where they're not literally 24/7, focusing on their job?
Oh, I think it's very important. It's hard to put your business on the shelf and step away from it. And, even during a tough day at work, just being able to go to the gym and, escaping for an hour is, what were problems before running or before that workout are just kind of left at the door, and you kind of forget about it afterwards. And it's kind of a mind reset. And so, if it's playing guitar, if it's playing a game of golf, if it's, going to see a movie, it's a time out for our brains to really, really concentrate on ourselves. And, we all need a break, and our businesses will be waiting for us when we come back. So,
exactly. Well, thanks very much, Mike, for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me, Mary. I really appreciate it.
All right. That was Mike Anderson, president of Trixstar. I'm Mario Toneguzzi. This has been Edmonton's podcast on Canada's Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us today.